All right, we're going to talk quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins. I'm going to plant my flag on this one. I think this was a mistake. I didn't like the signing. Kirk Cousins to Atlanta, $100 million guaranteed to a guy who's going to be 36 years old in August and is coming off a torn Achilles. And this just, to me, seems like the classic, we've been burned so many times. Here comes our hero, and you're just not even thinking rationally. In the last 3 years, they had washed up Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, who couldn't even finish the Netflix season, Taylor Heineke, and Desmond Ridder, who had an interception montage that I actually thought might have been deep faked by Falcons fans trying to get them to sign Cousins. So Cousins, he had 2 10-win seasons in Minnesota. He's 1-3 career in the playoffs. He was 0-1 in Washington, 1-2 in Minnesota. In 15 and 16 in Washington, he had Sean McVay as his offensive coordinator. He went 17 and 14 and 1. Minnesota, he always had Diggs and Thielen, and then he had Jefferson and Thielen, and then he had Jefferson and Osgood. He always had weapons. They always had running backs really until last year with Madison sucked. 2018, week 17 to make the playoffs. I'm sorry, 2018. To make the playoffs, they have to beat Chicago and Mitch Trubisky, and they lose 24-10. 2019, they upset New Orleans and washed up Drew Brees in overtime in round 1, get killed by San Francisco. They go 7-9 and they go 8-9. And then in 22, they're 13-4. That ridiculous aberration. Oh my God, that team should be 8-8, but they're 13-4. And they lose to Danny Dimes and the New York Giants in round 1. What am I paying for with Kirk Cousins other than the chance to lose in round 1? What am I doing?
You mentioned the Netflix show with Mariota. I really feel like that Netflix show and Cousins getting injured last year, the whole thought consensus on Kirk Cousins has changed so much in the last 12 months. I mean, he used to be someone everyone make fun, all right, you're not going anywhere with Kirk Cousins. He's mediocre.
He was like the line you had to get over.
Now,
is he better than Kirk Cousins?
But now listen to how people talk about Kirk. It's crazy. Like what you said, I was looking up stuff earlier today. How many times he was in Minnesota for 6 seasons, I think. How many times do you think they had a top 10 passing DVOA offense in Minnesota with him? 6 seasons. One time out of 6 seasons. Now he's 36, coming off an Achilles, like you mentioned, different supporting cast, different scheme in Atlanta. I think it's exactly what you said. I think the owner in Atlanta looked around and said, I'm tired of sitting here on Sundays in the fall watching Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder.
I can't do another year.
I can't do another year.
I can't do it.
I only have so many years left. I'm not watching this slop. I didn't buy a team to watch those guys play quarterback. So it kind of goes back to what you asked me in the beginning. Like, how do you compete with Mahomes and win a Super Bowl? That's what some teams are thinking about. Other organizations are looking at it like the last 3 years have been the Arthur Smith, era was a disaster. I want to have fun watching my team. Maybe we'll win the NFC South. Maybe we'll win a playoff game. If we do, it doesn't really matter. If we lose in the first round, that's okay. We're in the playoffs. This is not a move you make if you're like, we need to do the best thing for the franchise to win a Super Bowl. This is a move you make if you say, we want to raise the floor. We want to be competent. The owner's tired of being embarrassed. Other people want to keep their jobs. And you're like, all right, we'll sign Kirk Cousins. So I think he'll operate what do you think, the 12th or 14th best starter in the NFL?
I have my list. I'm glad you asked.
Okay. All right. Okay. Perfect.
My initial QB tiers. Ready? Mahomes on his own.
Okay.
Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Lamar, and Stroud, I think, are the next 5. I couldn't put Stroud lower than 6. There's no way he's not going to be better. Right? From what we saw, he'll be 10% better. Next tier, so that's 6. Stafford, Hurts, Dak, Love, and Purdy. I think Purdy has to be on there. Now I'm at 11. Next tier, Rodgers, Goff. Now I'm at 13. Now I'm dropping Lawrence, Cousins, Tua, Mayfield, Kyler in some order. And that's from 14 to 18. What's your biggest disagreement with that list?
Well, I was I really don't want to be the person who is on here stumping for Trevor Lawrence, but I think there's probably a case that he's just one tier up. I don't need to put him in the elite category.
So you put him in the Rodgers Goff, you'd have him as the third guy in that tier? Okay.
There were, I think, and Purdy, like, would you rather have Purdy than Goff? That one I was like,
okay,
I don't know.
I can move Purdy down a tier?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in there that were, I was like, and I just am, I'm leading the Jordan Love hype train, but I think you had him in the right tier. It's been 1 year as a starter there, and so I think that was fine. So okay, you have him right. You have Cousins right there, right?
All right, let me. So I'll do it again.
You said.
With
all right, let me. I'm gonna take more notes. Let me take more notes. Okay.
Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Herbert, Stroud, Stafford, Hurts, Dak, Love. So that would make Love number 11. Would you have Love ahead of Dak?
For 1 year, probably not.
It's a good argument.
I might. I love Love. Yeah, I think he's fantastic.
It's in the mix. So then another drop. Rodgers, Purdy, Goff, Lawrence in some order. All of them upside with like one thing that makes you go, So Purdy, it's like,
yeah.
Meanwhile, what else does he have to show us? Like the guy's 2 years in a row led teams that had a chance to win a Super Bowl. First time he gets hurt. Last year comes down to 2 third down plays where the defense called a great look on him, right? Rodgers, I have no idea. You can tell me Rodgers is going to be two higher, or 2 tiers higher, or 2 tiers lower. Goff, that's right around where he should be.
Yeah.
Lawrence is the one. I just don't know if Lawrence is good. I have no idea.
I think that's fair. I mean, like, I just look at it as who are the guys who, like, probably the only guys, like, if you have them, you're going to be in the mix. It might only be Mahomes and Allen. Like, Allen, they're doing all this stuff. And guess what? They're still probably going to have a top 8 offense.
Burrow's in there for me.
Burrow's in there. I love
think Burrow's like a guaranteed 10 wins.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't put him right away was maybe the durability. He's had a couple seasons, but I love Burrow. I'm in on Burrow. Stroud, you could honestly make the case as high as 3 for me, and I wouldn't be laughing at you.
Stroud versus Herbert is like an actual argument.
I would take Stroud right now. I mean,
I think I would too.
Look at what he did with that support. I think Football Outsiders it was like the most injured offensive line since they've started tracking this stuff. And for other quarterbacks, you're making excuses for that, right? For him, he's a rookie. He's got Nico Collins and not a lot else. And look how good
and injuries.
He can elevate and injuries. So he was able to elevate his groove. So I like Stroud in that top tier. And when I do the trade value updates in this summer for NFL, I'm afraid to know how high I'm going to put CJ Stroud there.
Oh, Jesus.
Dak.
Yeah, he could be CJ Stroud could be a top 5 guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 5. Yeah,
right?
5
like higher than 5.
For me.
He might be top 3.
He might be 3. He might be 3 for me when you factor in the rookie contract. Because if it's
true.
Stroud and those other guys.
So anyway, that last tier with Cousins, Tua, Mayfield, and Kyler, I think is the right spot for Cousins at 36 years old coming off an Achilles injury. And you could say like, well, why wouldn't Rodgers be there? He's 40 years old coming off an Achilles. But I don't know. Rodgers just has a better track record, even if he's older.
Yeah, I'm probably lower on Mayfield than you are in that group. I would have him lower there. Kyler is a hard one to predict. But yeah, I think that's around the right spot where if the supporting cast is good, there's like all these guys. There's probably 12 guys where you could say if the supporting cast is good and the coaching is good, you could have them as high as maybe like 8. Or you could have them as low as 20. Like it is a wide group there. Once you get beyond the 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who you feel really good about. So I think that's probably where Cousins is. And now it's just a matter of like how good is that supporting cast? What's their ceiling going to be? Like I would pick them to win
honestly,
the division
how good
next
is that supporting cast? Like do you absolutely love Drake London? Do you absolutely love Kyle Pitts? Like I'm like they have potential. I wouldn't say like I had both of them on fantasy teams, so watch them pretty closely. And Drake London, he'd have a couple big games, but do I think he's going to be like a top 5 receiver? No. And then Bijan, I don't know. That's one where he might be awesome next year and it wouldn't be shocking.
Yeah, it's so much based on just where they were drafted. And, you're like, well, that Arthur Smith era was not great in Atlanta. But you're right. Like Drake London is not Justin Jefferson. Like that matters a lot for the. I mean, we've watched. There were games where Justin Jefferson is just taking the game over
by himself.
Like it really didn't matter who was throwing him the football. There's nobody like that on the Falcons. So it's a group with potential, but I'm with you, unproven. I think you convinced me. I've been on the fence with the Cousins thing, like not having a firm stance. I think I want to join you.
That's good. Come with me too. Yeah. I think I honestly think you were right about the Netflix thing. I think it shifted the narrative on him in a really weird way, and people felt bad because he got hurt and the outpouring from his teammates. I mean, the big thing, if you're going to make the case for the signing for Atlanta, other than what you said about the owner, was he's an awesome locker room guy and a leader and somebody that can come in, and at least now you have like somebody who can drive your car. Whether you can drive it well enough, I guess we'll find out. I was looking at, they have some on FanDuel, they have some of the division odds. And this Cousin thing, it surged the Falcons. They're like -110, -115 now to win the NFC South. I'm like, to me, it's like there's no. First of all, to say those are the odds at this point is ridiculous. We didn't have the draft yet, but I just don't think them versus Tampa, them versus New Orleans. To me, that's a crapshoot. So if I'm getting over 3-1 value on the Saints or the Bucks, I'm just grabbing that over thinking Atlanta is going to be a prohibitive favorite. I don't see that at all.